Happy to have you aboard here for the Really Big Barbecue Show.
Boing. We cook because we have to, and we grill because we want to.
Hit me.
Fine, how's it going?
You have a great show. I'm a big fan.
Boing.
So what seems to be the problem here? This man looks like he's dead, and he's in the crackle. Charbono! It's all about the charbono, dude.
Succulent fish. What?
He ate 2 feet or wiener.
Oh, listen, Lavernius, shut your face.
I'm shaking like a dog shit peach seeds.
We have top men working on it right now. Top men.
And just like that, we are into the second hour. It's the Barbecue Central Show. We talk about live fire barbecue and grilling items of the utmost importance. Why, I just spent an hour talking about my Saturday, if you can believe it or not. Well, believe it if you don't. If you're just tuning in to this second hour, you got the full rundown, intimate details on this past Saturday's Grill Fest 2022 at the Hartville Hardware location in Hartville, Ohio. So go back and get that on podcast if you missed it, or you can watch the audio and the video archive, as they will automatically save and be ready for rewatch here shortly after the show ends here this evening. Still to come on the show, Matt Frampton from Urban Slicer Pizza Works, and closing the show, Daniel Vaughn from Texas Monthly. So looking forward to talking with them. By the way, the show originating from
Palm City, USA, Cleveland.
We say good evening to the folks that are watching the show over on Facebook and Twitch/BBQ Central Show. There's also a video feed over on YouTube/RD Rempe. You can follow me socially at BBQ Central Show on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Snapchat. And we also say good evening to the folks that are listening to us only and not watching us on our audio platform partner, Clubhouse, which may or may not be having the aforementioned known issues. We tried with Guy, but it didn't work. Now, look, Scott's right on stage. I don't understand it. Scott, you're there, aren't you?
Yep, I'm there.
Of course you're there. You're from Cambridge. You know what you're doing. You're a teacher.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, the mute button's in the bottom right, pretty small.
Well, yeah, but I have a problem going on with Guy. It could be somebody had asked in the YouTube chat Club Deck, and it's a download if you go to, I don't know, clubdeck.com or just Google Club Deck. It's a interface that goes on your computer. I only use it because it helps me pipe in the big time microphone and you can hear all the sound effects and all that crap. But otherwise, I don't know if it would be better to use in lieu of the phone, unless you're just somebody that sits in front of their computer. Anyway, you were there Saturday. I know I droned on and on, but from a cook's perspective, what did you think of the event? And what do you think of the event as a whole, both from a cook and a consumer?
It's an awesome event. Hartville has definitely a first class act there, and they run the event the same way as they do their store. You definitely, with all the demos, there's a lot of activity. As a cook, you definitely are busy most of the day, so you do miss some of the activities. You're kind of torn between watching your cook and wanting to see the demos, but wanting to win kind of usually drives you to watch your cook a little bit more than attending all the demos, for sure.
Well, $250 to win your segment, and then winning it overall gets you another $250 aside from some pretty cool trophies. I mean, it's a pretty big payday considering you're invested $30 in, aside from your travel and all that stuff. It's like a $30, $35 or $40 entry fee or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. And then all the camaraderie with the other cooks. That's the other thing in the tent. There's a lot of discussions in the day, and just the barbecue family in general is always a good family to be around, and a lot of good discussions during the day while you're cooking. So it's definitely a lot of excitement, and something I probably won't ever miss. But it all started for me with I went to a Traeger shop class there at Hartville, and actually one of them was, I went to two different ones. Diva Q was one of the teachers, and then your embedded correspondent,
Doug
Shiloh, was my other.
Right.
Yeah.
Love Doug.
So they both did a great job teaching. Really had never done any competing until I came to Hartville, and this would have been my third year attending. So it's a great time, great opportunity. Kind of gives you a little bit of the bug to want to compete, and also it's, great time with the guys around that you're competing with.
Yeah, great in the competition tent, and of course I always like seeing you in person, and everybody else that stops me and says, "Hey, I'm just here because I heard it on the show," or I'm a fan of the show and I don't really know what else is happening here, but came because you were talking about it. So that's always really nice. But appreciate your feedback on the event, and always good to see you in person, Scott.
Yep, good to see you too, Greg. Oops. See you next year.
All righty, there he is, Scott from Cambridge, Ohio, and his work's fine. I can tell right now here on this Clubhouse, something got screwed up when I was inviting Guy on. There's something by his name that just isn't going away. It wasn't there when Scott came up, so maybe there's a bug. I'm sure it would fix itself if I stopped the Clubhouse feed, but I am not.
Andrew, you are not the father.
I'm not going to do that. Nope. Hey, coming up on the best moments of the Barbecue Central show in 10 minutes or less, this coming Friday, episode 247, taking you back to a date you've probably heard the last 2 weeks, September 6th, 2016. And I don't recall this has ever happened before or not. I'm going with not. The last 3 weeks of Best Moments shows have all come from the same original show. What does that tell you? Content is king for September 6th, 2016, as it relates to shows. Joining me back then is Barbecue Hall of Famer and Barbecue Central Show guest Hall of Famer John Marcus. And I don't usually say this so openly, but during this particular portion of the interview, we talked extensively about porta potties. Yes, porta potties. In fact, I recount a story from a year or so prior to that interview where 3 guys were out in the wilderness and happened upon a porta potty. One of the guys decided he was going to use the facilities, and while he was in there, his other 2 pals decided it would be some dynamite wilderness fun to flip the turlet over, so they did it. And in doing so, helped their pal in the potty break his neck. Like, break his neck and became a quadriplegic. So like people do these days, the guy who's now a fresh paraplegic sued the turlet company and won millions and millions of dollars. Why? Because the potty wasn't properly secured to the ground. True story. Google it. In fact, it brought John Marcus to a whole new realm of holy shit. I can't believe that actually happened. And that guy's seen a lot. I mean, he worked with Bill Cosby and some very other famous people, so I know he's seen and experienced a lot. But having your friends tip you over in a porta potty, helping you become a paraplegic, and then turning around and suing the porta potty company and winning? Wow. That is something else. And you can hear about it on this week's Best Of show. By the way, if you want to hear a guest or a segment again that has been lost in the archives, email John. Tell him what you would like to hear. JON@thebbqcentralshow.com. And he'll do his best to meet your expectation as it relates to Best Of shows. Upcoming shows for the rest of this month include a visit from barbecue icon Steven Reichland next week. Derek Riches will be in next week as well. And the embedded correspondence. However, the embedded correspondent next week, believe it or not, if you can believe we're here already, I'll be shocked. The annual Barbecue Central Show Guest Hall of Fame segment. Let's go! What does that mean? Let me set it up for you. Doug and Rusty and John and myself will all come together next week. And what will happen? We will bring our 5 nominees to the table. We will immediately puke out who our nominees are. Now, in years past, we have generated auto invites or auto qualifiers right in. If everybody gets the same name, all four in unanimous, that person gets in right off the bat. That typically doesn't work out like that. Wouldn't that be amazing, though, if all of our names got in right away? Because we put in 5 every year. After that, each one of us picks a name from the remaining list of nominations and then goes to the mat for each individual one, trying to sell our names to the rest of us. Now, maybe we have a change of heart. We allow those persons in until we get to 5. Last year, it took a while, but we had a great list. By the way, all of the classes of the Barbecue Central Show Guest Hall of Fames are on the website, starting with the inaugural class of 2018 and working its way into 2021, if you can believe it. 2022 starts next week. We will have a new class for Barbecue Central Show Guest Hall of Fame at the end of the show next week. Look forward to that. What do we love about ceramic cookers? We love that they're fuel efficient. We love that you can achieve low and slow temperatures for traditional barbecue meats. We love that you can get rip-roaring hot for high-temperature grilling of steaks and other thin cuts. But what's missing in the everyday lineup of ceramic cookers? The real ability to do true two-zone cooking, very popular because it helps you manage the fire and cook with confidence. However, getting a two-zone fire in a round ceramic cooker is not very realistic. Why? Because it's round. Enter Primo Grill in their game-changing oval design. The shape gives you the ability to execute a two-zone setup that you desire. It also gives you the other ceramic grill benefits as well. You can cook over 60 different ways, depending on how you configure this thing. Believe it or not, only limited by your culinary imagination. If you want accessories, they got them. They have a Primo Grill rotisserie accessory. They have a Primo Grill pizza accessory. They have drip pans, full and half, rib racks. They got the new top and bottom dampers, the new lift hinge. Come on, what are you waiting for? Get on over there. These are only sold through dealers, just like Green Mountain Grill. So go to primogrill.com, find a dealer near you, see the size oval that you like best, talk to the sales staff, get educated, and away you go. primogrill.com, that's primogrill.com, and hook up with the ceramic cooker on the market. We are back with Matt Frampton from Urban Slicer Pizza Works right after this. Stick around, be right back.
You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Howard Stern, Jim Rome, Dan Patrick, and Greg Rempe. The Mountain Rushmore of talk show entertainment. Now, let's get back to the Barbecue Central Show.
Welcome back. This portion of the show being brought to you by Pit Barrel Cooker, the most unbelievable outdoor cooking device on the planet, currently available in 3 sizes with a host of accessories to complete your pit barrel cooking experience. Doesn't matter if you're a beginner or a professional, definitely cooker you want to add to the arsenal. Visit pitbarrelcooker.com and tell them the Barbecue Central Show sent you. All right, kicking off the second hour tonight is a guy who is roundly, no pun intended, considered to be the live fire pizza guru of our industry, if not the world. You have tried his dough, you've tried his sauce, and most recently you started using his pizza spices. But what else is going on in the world of pizza and beyond? Let's go ahead and hit the hotline. Welcome back, the Urban Slicer himself, Matt Frampton. Hey, Matt.
How are you, sir?
Dare I say happy National Pepperoni Pizza Day to you. Oh, my.
Right back at you. That it is. It is definitely a glorious day anytime we have a National Pizza Day.
Is there a best pepperoni, or does the best pepperoni dictate itself to the style of pie that you're making?
Yeah, I mean, if you're going under the cheese, just a regular pepperoni that maybe stays flat. You may have heard the cup and char pepperoni term, but essentially it just means the casing is still on the outside of the pepperoni. So when it heats up, it shrinks a little bit and it holds the grease as like a little cup in there. And so yeah, that's my style. There's lots of good brands out there that make it. Most of them are food service, but yeah.
Is cup and char also what they would refer to as old world pepperoni?
I mean, that's somewhat synonymous. Yeah. Cup and char has kind of become the industry term. There's Hormel makes a cup and crisp, which is their branded version of it.
What do you prefer? Like if you had your druthers, are you always a flat guy, or are you a cup and crisp or cup and char guy?
I'm a cup and char guy. If
Did you like
look
the grease?
At my social, oh yeah, the grease is the best part, man. You can pick those little pepperonis up and take shots of it if you want, nice and healthy. Yeah, baby. I did a little montage of my favorite pepperoni pizzas on social earlier today, just to commemorate the wonderful day that we have today.
If you're not familiar with the website, urbanslicerpizza.com is the place to go if you haven't tried Matt's products. The doughs are absolutely insane. The sauce is of legend. And, of course, the pizza spices are equally insane. In fact, I don't know if you heard the beginning of the show, but we had a little flank steak dinner, and I had these, the grocery store where I'm at because I'm lazy, has the pre-shredded Brussels sprout kind of thing. So 4 strips of bacon in a hot cast iron pan, get the bacon rendering, get the fat out, and then throw the Brussels sprouts in there. Did a little Down East dinner dust from Bub and Mother's, but then came over heavy-handed with the white spice, at the Parmesan, or what's the name?
Oh yeah, the white pizza mojo.
Yes, yeah, the white pizza mojo, heavy-handed over the top. Oh my God, I'm telling you, if you haven't tried it, it's a winner. And I find myself, I'm not handy. I don't know if you're aware of this or not, but and also I like to live within rules. So I prefer people to tell me, do this, do that when it comes to cooking. I don't like to experiment. I don't want to do anything wrong. I don't know if I was abused as a child in life. I'm just kidding. I wasn't. Everybody relax. But when I see the red mojo, the white mojo, I only want to just use it on pizza. And then I'm like, you know what? F this. I just started using it on everything, salads and Brussels sprouts and ice cream, and just to see what happens. And that stuff is magic. I mean, seasoning just should be used willy-nilly, right?
Yeah, man, it's super versatile. The white one's really good on potatoes, like in a cast iron skillet. Potatoes for sure. Mm-hmm. Brussels sprouts, popcorn. My son calls the red one powdered pizza. So you can put it on anything and make it taste like pizza if you're in the mood, or make like a sausage with it or something. So yeah, that's awesome that you love it, man.
Matt, I mentioned on the show that you are the Pizziola de Pizziolas, which is a nod to the Cosa Nostra term for capo de capi, which is the boss of bosses. Can you quickly tell us how one becomes a Pizziola again?
Yeah, sure. I mean, so first of all, you always find ways to embarrass me because there's plenty of good pizziolas out there, man. I definitely don't think I'm the best, but I have my own style.
My words, Matt, not yours.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I'm obviously catered to the backyard just because of my roots, but I did go get my credentials, so I'm a graduate of the International School of Pizza. I get under he's like the Myron Mixon of the pizza world. His name's Tony Gemignani, and 13-time world champion. Got to manage his restaurant for several days and study under him all the 8 days I was there, and super cool experience. You can do that. There's a couple of 1 or 2 day classes, or you can just really dive in and be self-taught. I mean, there's a number of ways to do it. But being a pizziola means you love making pizza, and you respect the craft, and treat it with the respect it deserves. It's an art and a science and a good hobby.
Matt Frampton joining us here on the show from Urban Slicer Pizza, urbanslicerpizza.com, the website. Matt, the past 2 years for many in the live fire community were gangbusters. As the year turned, however, here in 2022, the boom seems to have largely busted for many. How's your business right now? You feeling those effects too?
Well, it's had no shortage of challenges with distribution and procuring our raw ingredients, but we've been pretty fortunate. I mean, we're still growing. We doubled year over year from last year, and we're on pace to do that again this year. So it's been really awesome. I just love that we're accepted by the community out there. We're in over 2,000 stores now across North America. A lot of those are in Canada. So it's been a cool year for Urban Slicer. I know there's been a lot of challenges with companies out there, but we've been fortunate enough to be one that probably hasn't seen the brunt of it.
Do you foresee, I want to say smooth sailing, but no worse sailing than you're experiencing now through the end of the business year?
I do, yeah, so flour obviously is a big ingredient of ours, and there's been an interesting hit, distribution, the droughts that have happened across the United States and outside the U.S.
What about the war?
And we're seeing
did that hurt you at all?
It didn't impact me because we procure everything in the U.S. But it has had an impact on the ag industry in general, and so. While our ingredients haven't been so directly impacted, our suppliers are being squeezed with other ingredients they're trying to get. Our manufacturers being squeezed here and there. So we're competing with those challenges in a way, but luckily we've had no inventory issues. We've had no situations this year where we've been out of stock. So we keep, we keep pressing on and delivering. We had to do a slight price increase earlier this year. I held off until then to do it, but it wasn't very big, and I have no plans to do that in the future, and I don't see any reason why we would need to. So I think we're headed to greener pastures. I don't want to, put the cart before the horse, but I really do think we're starting to level off here with the way things have been.
For as many stores as you're in now, I think you said over 2,000 retail locations or whatever it is, getting into Canada. So that obviously means you're going international as well. What's the next big growth bump? Where's the long-term or the stretch goal for you?
Well, I've been laser focused on our gluten-free line, which
you need gluten for pizza?
Isn't that the craziest thing? Oh, yes. Man, we could nerd out on gluten here if you want. Oh, man. So I've been working on it for several years. I think I've talked about it on this show before, and I'm on revision 5 right now, and I just approved the formula. Our test market completed last night, and super favorable feedback. I'm very excited. I don't want to overpromise anything, but I think it could be a game changer in the gluten-free space. It tastes like pizza. It feels like pizza. It chews like pizza. I'm very, very excited to launch it. So now we're on to the packaging, and I'm going to try and get it out by Black Friday. It's going to be a stretch, but I'm going to do my best for that. And then from there, we're just going to continue the organic growth that we have. I mean, we've been a lean company. We've tried to do it the right way from the beginning. We've borrowed no money. And so, we're going to just try and keep doing that and taking it at the right place and playing cash Tetris as best we can to keep growing without stunting that growth. And, so I'm more interested in maybe next year and versus the long game and just keep growing from here.
Did you get any potential suitors to buy Urban Slicer the past year or two?
No, nothing serious. I mean, really? I've had a couple of people. Yeah, no, that day I'm sure will come. I guess we could, be so fortunate, but nope, I'm not shopping. I'm not looking to sell, and I have not been approached by anyone.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I mean, there was a tremendous amount of business being transacted here over the last couple of years. There was a lot of big grill brands. I mean, you're not a grill company per se, but you're related into the live fire business without a doubt, and a lot of barbecue guys and grilling guys like to do the high heat pizza stuff. So to me, it seemed to have made sense with all this business being transacted around. Somebody would want to come and potentially partner with you or offer you a check to go right off into the sunset, and they just take it over, what have you. So a little surprising there. Anything new product wise, otherwise that you're looking to bring in before the end of the year, or just the gluten free stuff?
Just the gluten-free for now. We're doing a little bit of food service work, so not just product, but we're doing some consulting. So I'm helping restaurants develop recipes, and that's been a good part of our business. But that's our focus for now, just one thing at a time. I have about 10, 11 other ideas, and as things progress, I may put those out to market, but I'm not trying to get like crazy with 200 SKUs here. I really want to focus on what we're good at. And that's where we're going to stay for a little while.
Matt Frampton joining us here on the show from Urban Slicer Pizza. Matt, coming up here, I think the next week is something called the American Royale, or Royal as we talk about it. And this brings us to a unique point in the interview, because I don't know if a lot of people who are either fans of the show or know you because of the pizza stuff realize who Matt Frampton really is, which of course is a founding member of the best named barbecue team ever on the face of the earth, Hot Grill on Grill Action. And that's how I knew you originally. You were the barbecue guy with Ryan and Logan and Chris, and you guys, you were on, were you guys on Pitmasters too? Or at least a couple of you guys were on Pitmasters?
Yeah, we were on this. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I originally know you as Matt the barbecue guy, and now you're Matt the pizza guy, but perhaps there may be a refiring or reemergence of Hot Grill on Grill in Kansas City this year.
That is a fact. So we will have all 4 members of Hot Grill on Grill Action down there, and super excited. So this will be our 10 straight year at the Royal. So we should be getting a banner. Looking forward to that. Right before I came on, I looked it up. I think the first time we came on the show, I came on with Logan and Ryan, and that was October of, I think, 2011.
Wow.
It's crazy how time has flown, and definitely, I mean, without barbecue, Urban Slicer would be nowhere. It's this is my 17th season competing, and those relationships. I mean, a lot of the guys that compete, they either have or had stores, and we're in a lot of those places, and just having that network and awesome group of friends that accepted pizza into their world has been a huge part of it. And barbecue is definitely in my roots, man. I can't wait to get down to the Royal and compete.
So if you've been going now your 10th year in a row to the Royal, there were years when you guys were really putting in the work, knocking down the competitions, doing pretty well for yourself, and then I assume that fell off at some point. You're still doing the Royal, but you're not out doing 15, 20 events. Have you been gearing up more this year in order to, make a run at it?
Well, I mean, we've had some, we've never won the Royal, but we've had some pretty good success where we at least we're on stage most years. So we definitely want to do that, have a respectable showing. The 4 of us have competed together 3 times leading up to the Royal. Just in the last couple of months, just as a little tune-up action. We got a new trailer, we got a new Jambo.
Wow.
And so we're ready to go, I think. But yeah, you're right. The last 6-7 years, it's really tapered off. Logan has a very large business that he runs here in Omaha. Chris is retired. Ryan is a construction executive here in Omaha and super busy. And then I've got what I've got going on. So if we get 4 contests in a year, it's a miracle. We can't do what some of these guys do, but we have been talking about hitting the road in 2025 and giving it a serious run. So I know that seems so far away, but at our age with our kids and everything, we got to plan that stuff. So
yeah, no doubt about it. Matt Frampton talking about giving it a go again here at the American Royal 10 years in a row, which coincides pretty much with the first time Hot Grill on Grill Action showed up on the show. Actually, I guess that would be 11 years here now that we're in 2022. Wow, I can't believe it. You can find his pizza stuff at urbanslicerpizza.com. If you are into pizza of any form or fashion, you have to try his stuff if you haven't already. Be sure to hook up with the sauce and then the red and the white seasonings as well. Matt, always appreciate the time. Good luck at the Royal. And remember, you guys win. Everybody's coming back for a recap that next Tuesday.
Oh, my God. I hope that happens, and we'll definitely be here, man. So have an awesome time. It's good catching up.
All right, Matt, there he is. Matt Frampton, hot grill-on-grill action, and Urban Slicer Pizza. Again, the website, urbanslicerpizza.com. And, man, what a flash in time again. 11 years ago, they show up as a barbecue competition cooking team, and then don't leave it, but have very busy lives. When you have multiple pitmasters on a team, which you really don't see a lot of anymore. I think in the beginning when I was starting to get into it, you had a number of teams that had 4 guys, 5 guys, 6 guys. I remember Whiskey Bent Barbecue seemed to have a cavalcade of ever-changing lineups. Chad was always the main guy, but there were a number of people that would roll. It was like an entourage with some of these guys. And all of a sudden it started to weed itself out a little bit, and there were husband and wife teams, but then all of a sudden there were a lot of single dudes just going out and doing a whole contest by themselves. In fact, some of the best guys out there right now are doing it mostly as a single unit team and doing very well. Maybe that's what it takes at this point. But Brian and the guys and Matt and Logan and Chris all looking to change the game up here and grab a American Royal win if their turn-ins and luck should have it, and we wish them nothing but success. All right, we have Daniel Vaughn from Texas Monthly in the green room ready to come on and talk a little barbecue. So stay tuned for that. I will talk to you about Big Papa Smokers, the one-stop online shop for all things barbecue. A curated selection of only the best outdoor cooking and grilling supplies, getting you on the path to better barbecue results in no time. Everything at Big Papa Smokers, Pitmaster approved by Sterling Big Papa Ball himself, from the award-winning rubs and sauces to the American-made grills and smokers. Big Papa Smokers has everything you need to be a better outdoor cook. 13 perfectly balanced flavors on the rubs and seasoning sides, transforming ordinary meals into extraordinary. Whether you're cooking to impress judges or grilling for your family and friends, Big Papa Smokers award-winning rubs and seasonings don't disappoint. Also, they own Granny's barbecue sauce, so if you're looking for something new that will please everybody, it's a little different than what's currently out there. Granny's traditional yet powerful flavor reminds us of why we fell in love with barbecue in the first place. And aside from the rubs and the sauces, they're selling cookers. Are you looking for a versatile smoker that's easy to use? Check out that Mac 2-star General Pellet Cooker. Big Papa Smokers, the exclusive Mac dealer, even offering special packages. Not a fan of pellet smokers? Take a look at that Old Hickory Ace BP. It's the only charcoal smoker that Big Papa trusts on his competition trailer. Not sure what grill you need? Call him and ask questions. 877-828-0727. That's 877-828-0727. Or shop their website at bigpapasmokers.com. That's BIGPOPPA smokers.com. We're back with Daniel Vaughn right after this. Stick around. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Let's get back to a guy who has more experience giving you his opinion than he actually has cooking. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
I want to thank Matt Frampton for joining us last segment. This portion being brought to you by Smithfield.com. Head on over there for recipes and tips and tricks from well-known live-fire cooks like Darren Worth, Jess Pryles, and Childs Cridlin with mouth-watering flavor and no artificial ingredients. Smithfield Fresh Pork is quite simply some of the finest pork money can buy, and is the trusted choice of top cooks for use at competitions and at home. That's Smithfield.com. Coming out of the bullpen tonight is the barbecue editor for Texas Monthly Magazine. You also see him on this show once a quarter, where we talk about various barbecue topics and the Texas world in general. We race to the hotline and welcome back friend of the show, Daniel Vaughn. Hey, Daniel.
Greg, how are you?
I am absolutely fabulous. Appreciate you making time for the show here during your quarterly visit. We have plenty of stuff to talk about here, not the least of which, if I might start here, because one of the things the Texas Monthly is most well known for is this top 50 barbecue list that you put out. Last week, I have a guy you might not know, Robert Moss, on the show during his monthly segment. He announces that within the next week or so, Southern Living is going to be releasing their top 50 barbecue joints list. You have any guesses on how many Texas spots will be making their list?
Not enough. I mean, if Robert was honest, I think it'd have to be at least 30 of the 50.
More than half. Wow, I like it.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, first off, Texas is a huge state. We've got a lot of incredible barbecue here. I've talked to Robert in the past that I think it would just make more sense if he'd talk to his editors and let him skip Texas. Just let us do Texas at Texas Monthly and give the rest of the folks in the South some shine. It's Southern Living magazine, but he reminds me that part of the readership for Southern Living is in Texas, so they've got to cover it, whether I suggest it or not.
I'm not here to cast aspersion on what considers the South or what regulates the South, but in his explanation last week, he said that Kentucky and West Virginia, both states that border Ohio, are in the Southern Living diaphragm of what is considered the South. What do you consider the South?
What do I consider?
And is it Kentucky and West Virginia?
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you were on the South side in the Civil War, you pretty much were in the South, and still are. But yeah, I mean, there are obvious states. Texas is a tough one though. It's like East Texas feels a whole lot like the Deep South. West Texas doesn't feel anything like it. So we are the South here in Texas. We're the Southwest as well. Mm-hmm. And then, man, you get up into Amarillo, and I mean, that's further north than Oklahoma City.
It's an interesting topic. Aside from COVID prohibiting it, Robert makes the claim that they're producing a list every year. Could Texas Monthly benefit from increasing their release to every 24 months or 12 months, considering how quickly things change these days?
Things do change quickly, but we have a huge team of folks that we put together to do our top 50 list, and because of that, it takes us about 6 months to put it together. And if we were to do it every year, then like half of the time, that many people would be working on the top 50 barbecue list. I think too that things do change quickly, but I don't think they change that quickly. I don't think there's so much turnover that you can expect over from a year to year basis. I mean, for me too, just having that 4-year gap is helpful in going through it's in actually reaching the target that we set for ourselves, which is to look at all of these places fresh every time. And I think if you were to do it every year, it's just too easy to bring in your most recent visit there that happened a year earlier and bring that into your rankings. So we really do think that separation is useful. And then I do put out a list that we have fewer people at Texas Monthly working on every 2 years, in the 2 years in between our top 50, which is the 25 best new barbecue joint list. And so that helps us cover a lot of the new stuff that's happening, a lot of the new places that have opened. So we give them a little bit of shine that way.
When we were talking about topics to hit and chat about this evening, you'd mentioned that there were a number of barbecue joints that are closing, and that means business isn't sustainable in a state that has always been linked to sustaining as many barbecue restaurants that decided they wanted to give it a go. How involved of a problem is this?
Well, it seems to be a lot of similar type places are the ones that are closing. And by similar type, I mean, the ones that keep opening up tend to be like weekend only or maybe 3-day a week, generally serving out of a food truck of some sort or a temporary establishment, right? Not a brick and mortar, not a open all week long or even 5 or 6 days. And so these are the places that I'm noticing are closing as well. So we've had several of these closures. I've been tracking them over the last year. We've had quite a few here in the last 6 months or so. And, I don't know if it's as much a symptom of, I don't know, the saturation of the barbecue market, or just simply that you've got a bunch of folks who took on second jobs, many who didn't quit their day job to do something that's exhausting, and they've just simply gotten exhausted of it all.
There's
you add in like all the high prices of meat that we're still seeing, and the sustained high prices, and it really just at the end of the day, when you're going through all that work and you're seeing probably so little profit come in, it is probably tough to justify all that hard work.
So as you had just mentioned, the sustained high prices of meat, one of the talking points on this show for the past number of weeks, and it seems there's a portion of the listening audience that has had enough of this kind of talk, but the other half seems to be very involved with it and can't get enough of it. It's the finished cost of brisket and where it's currently living. A lot of places are $35 a pound and perhaps trending up. And maybe, although I didn't get a chance to talk to him because we ran through a little bit of a time zone issue in the first hour, I was going to have Leonard Botello on from Truth Barbecue, and I thought on a couple different social media posts that I saw from him, there was a number $49. I don't know if that's what his cost of brisket per pound is, but I saw that on a chalkboard behind him in a few different pictures. I guess, is that something that you could confirm through any of your experience? And then getting back to the sustained 35 and potentially creeping up, where do you see that stopping?
If Truth Barbecue's at $49 a pound, that would be news to me. And there's a place that opened up here in Dallas recently that is serving Wagyu brisket on the regular, and they are in a very pricey part of town. It's called the Douglas, and they serve really good barbecue, but it's also $44 a pound for brisket. As far as I know, that's the most expensive place you can get it in Texas anyway. And so, yeah, I'll go back and look at Truth Barbecue, but I don't think they've reached those heights yet of $49 a pound. As you said, reaching $30 a pound is not unusual these days, even in the mid 30s. But today I just had a sneak peek at HEB grocery store that just opened up here. Most of the new HEBs now in Texas have a True Texas Barbecue within them. Now we're talking the buying power of a major, grocery chain. And they have $22 a pound brisket. Now they're serving choice brisket. It's still an all natural brisket, but they're serving a choice all natural brisket and charging $22 a pound for it. So, when you've got that sort of buying power, you can get back down to those more reasonable sounding prices. But when you're just your everyday Joe who's out there buying brisket by a few cases here and there, you don't have any sort of that negotiating power.
Tim McKeska was on the show last week, and he had mentioned that it's not necessarily the meat cost that's the biggest driver here of why brisket is living at $30, $35 a pound, but it's more inflation or the CPI index, which is just launched into the stratosphere. Is that something that you agree with as well?
To a certain degree, yeah. I mean, costs have gone up everywhere, but I think people really focus on the price of brisket because that's an easy thing to gauge for Texas barbecue joints, and now that like everybody in the world loves brisket, easy to gauge, around the country and worldwide. But one of the things that is often left out in that is that the brisket prices over, say 3-4 years ago, those were artificially low because you could charge a higher price than what was necessary to charge to make a profit for things like pork and turkey, chicken, sausage, these other items that were on the menu. You could make your money in those items and charge less money or a less profitable price for brisket. And now that's just not the case anymore, because the prices for all of those things have gone up. The prices for the sides, prices for all those ingredients have gone up. So you can no longer hide that high cost of the brisket elsewhere in your menu. You just have to charge for it, because you've got to charge that. You're paying higher prices for all the other stuff without raising those prices exorbitantly.
That's certainly an interesting insight and something that I hadn't even thought about. Nobody's mentioned it. So extremely great insight from one Daniel Vaughn, of course, from Texas Monthly.
Thank you.
TMBBQ.com, and he's the barbecue editor over there, of course. So let's switch it up for the rest of the segment here. Talk about cookers. When one thinks of Texas barbecue specifically, you think of those huge offset cookers, and I imagine if you don't have one of those somewhere on your property as a restaurant operator, your street cred goes right out the window. Does history show that these have always been the cooker of choice?
Well, does history show? I mean, if you were to talk to somebody about what traditional Texas barbecue is, I'm sure they would point to a steel offset smoker as what they would consider the vessel that you would make traditional Texas barbecue from, and it would be brisket as that would be coming out of it as your most traditional thing. And while the idea of cooking with wood and cooking indirectly with wood even goes back a long, long way in Texas, a century in Texas, the steel offset smoker is quite a bit younger. And I did some really in-depth research trying to find, really trying to pin down when it happened. You hear these stories about oil field workers who in the bust of the 80s didn't have anything to do, had a lot of extra material around and had welding skills. And so they put together these smokers. And that sounds like, a good enough story, but is that really the way it happened? And I'm always curious about things like that, trying to actually go back and prove the way things happen, and not just try and repeat the stories that are told, right? And so going back and doing the research, that is the way it happened. And that is pretty much the timeline. And it wasn't until the early 1980s, like 1983, really, 1982 and 83, when you first started seeing steel offset smokers being marketed to the public, both as backyard cookers and as more professional size cookers. In fact, like the first image I could find of one was from 1978, and it would be even hard to recognize now because of the shape of it, because the shape these days has been so regularized by the use of propane tanks, so that shape, that oblong cylinder with the rounded ends, is what we so associate now with what a Texas style cooker looks like because of the propane tanks and reusing them. But that image, even from 1978, which that's when I was born, so that wasn't that long ago.
Yeah,
was it hardly looked like what you would recognize as a steel offset smoker these days.
So pre 1978, what was the favorite way of making barbecue, or the most accepted way?
It would be in a brick smoker, where you were just going to be either cooking directly or you were going to build a fire off to the side. It didn't have like a separated firebox. And then places like, even today, you can go to places like a Smitty's Market or a Kreitz Market in Lockhart, Texas, and see where instead of a firebox built next to the brick pit, it's really just an opening in the side of that brick cooker, and then a fire built, right next to that opening. So that's really the way it was done. And it wasn't really until like the 1920s and 30s to where it was even normalized to have that brick style of smoker. There were even some upstart places like the food trucks of today were the barbecue shacks of yesteryear, right? And so it was still pretty normal for a lot of those places to just have a trench out back, have a hole in the ground out back where they were cooking wood down to coals and cooking directly over that. And so that really is the oldest style of Texas style barbecue, is cooking directly over those coals.
Do you see a time in the future where offset smokers would fall out of favor to something else?
I don't really see it because, barbecue is a hard thing to produce. It takes a lot of time, takes a lot of effort, takes specialized equipment and all that. But there's no denying that using an offset smoker and being able to just deal with a fire instead of dealing with a direct heat cooker and dealing with, having to actually deal with fat dripping down into the fire, constantly flipping meat, mopping meat. It's a much more active process, much more difficult, and really just much easier to screw up than cooking meat in that, through the indirect heat in an offset smoker like that. So I don't really see the offset smoker going away. And in fact, we're in the midst of quite a resurgence of it, and where we saw so many rotisserie cookers come in, and they're kind of falling by the wayside in favor of the offset smoker. And the fact that they're portable, they're not easily portable. Like, not some of them are trailer mounted. You can just put on the back of your truck, but you can haul them on a trailer. You can't do that to a brick pit. You got to build that thing in place.
No names, please. Are there a number of barbecue joints in Texas faking it? In other words, is there some kind of a gas assist to help keep the right temperatures in order to not have to stay up all night and pitch sticks?
I don't know. I mean, there are a few of the old brick pits out there that I've seen like gas inputs to for like a little flame to keep things going, but it wouldn't be enough. It's really to start the fire. It wouldn't be enough to keep things hot. If you've got a rotisserie, then almost certainly, if you've got like an Old Hickory or a Southern Pride, then you've certainly got a gas input there, and you're able to have both gas heat and wood heat. But I don't really know of anybody who's really got a gas or electric heating element in their offset cooker. No,
that's something that would probably make the rounds pretty quick. You piss off an employee that knows, and the first thing they do after they get shit canned is say, "Oh well, so and so's barbecue place is actually using a heating element or whatever. They're passing it off as this, but it's really this."
Yeah, but then you also would have to then point out the fact that that a lot of the great barbecue joints in Texas use an electric heating element to finish off their briskets. It's just it's called a warmer, but they also, at a lot of the places, they spend all night in that warmer, and that's not run by wood heat. That is plugged in. It's a moisture rich environment for some of them, and it is a key part of the cooking process for a lot of folks.
Daniel, anything you'd like to promote or reveal here before I let you go this evening?
Well, I mean, we've got our first Texas Monthly Barbecue Fest in Lockhart, Texas, coming up in the first weekend of November. And for the first time ever, we have a Barbecue World's Fair that will be taking over the square in Lockhart, right in the shadow of the beautiful Caldwell County Courthouse. And that is open to all, no ticket required to come to that Saturday event. And then we still have general admission tickets left for the Sunday event, where I think the 45th of the top 50 barbecue joints just signed on to that. So it's going to be our biggest one ever.
All right. If you want more information, go to the website, tmbbq.com. Read what Daniel's writing. He is a absolute master at the written word and is always well-researched, and enjoy reading what he does. And you can find him once a quarter right here on the show, which I believe the next time we'll be closing out 2022 and looking ahead here to 2023. Daniel, always appreciate the time. Thanks so much for coming on.
Great talking with you. Thank you.
That's Daniel Vaughn right there. Again, the website, tmbbq.com, if you aren't already visiting, but I'm sure most of us are visiting fairly frequently. Interesting on the offset cooker. Look, I'm guilty when I'm talking to people about barbecue and they don't really know about it. I don't just say offset. Instinctively, I say, like a Texas offset. Oh, yeah, that. But I'll say offset to those of us within, but they don't know. I always drop in the Texas offset just to get a little bit more recognition to that. Before we wrap the show here, let me talk to you about Vortic Watch. Back in the day, watches were made to be worn on the wrist. Sorry, in the pocket. After World War II, wristwatches came into vogue, and the pocket watch quickly became an afterthought, finding their way into sock drawers and scrap heaps. Quite simply a tragedy. Enter Vortic Watch Company, helping bridge the gap between America's storied watch manufacturing past and taking it to the present day, where wristwatches are finding incredible popularity. Here's the coolest part. Each watch that Vortic makes is unique and one of a kind. Like this one. Nobody else has a watch just like this. This is mine. Vortic, founded on the motto that America wasn't assembled, it was built. Check out VorticWatches.com. That's VorticWatches.com. We're back to wrap the show right after this. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Whole packers, full racks, legs and thighs, injecting butts. If you've never heard this before, you might think you found the best XXX show ever. Let's get back to the most homoerotic host out there today, Craig Rempe.
And we thank Daniel Vaughn for joining us last segment, talking about the competing top 50 barbecue list from Southern Living. Competing. That should be due out maybe in the next week or so keep an eye out over it. Robert's segment, also Daniel and I talked about brisket pricing, and that pretty much is going to bring that to a close. Well, we'll probably have one more segment with Leonard Botello from Truth Barbecue, but after that. And the only reason I mentioned $49 a pound, because there were some pictures that I thought said $49 a pound. I was set to ask him that. But obviously that didn't work out too well in the first hour, but we will remedy that situation. Then we learned all about the big steel offset cookers that is now widely known as being the Texas-style cooker for barbecue, and specifically brisket coming out of those. All the way back in the first hour, it was me all hour long, whether you liked it or not, talking about the absolutely fabulous Saturday this past at the Hartville Hardware 2022 Grill Fest, breaking it all down for you at nauseam. We were supposed to have a visit with Leonard Botello from Truth Barbecue, but there was a time zone mix-up, so we didn't get to fit him in. But I will be picking back up with the PR person to get new dates in, and I would imagine we'll have him here within the month, if not sooner than that. Second hour, Matt Frampton from Urban Slicer Pizza, urbanslicerpizza.com, the website. The products are great. Give them a try. And the refiring for the 10th year in a row of Hot Grill on Grill action, heading down to the American Royal next weekend and trying their hand at bringing back a GC. So we'll see how that works out. So we wish Matt and Ryan, Logan, and Chris all good luck there on the team. Bring it back for Nebraska, everybody. Omaha! Omaha! And closing now, Daniel Vaughn from Texas Monthly, the barbecue editor over there, tmbbq.com, his website. Everything will be revealed in podcast on Wednesday, hour number 1, and hour number 2 on Thursday. Don't forget the Best Moments show on Friday as well. Subscribe to the podcast feed. Big show planned for you next week. Of course, as I mentioned, we got the Barbecue Guest Hall of Fame embedded correspondence segment. So how do I always leave you? September 11th, 2001. I will never forget. And until next Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern, this is your program host and proud U.S. American, Greg Rempe, saying bye-bye.
Hey, what's up? This is JM, host of the Celebrity Grill podcast on iTunes. And you're listening to the Barbecue Central Radio Network. All barbecue and grilling all the time.